I am honored and very happy to open our conference entitled Individuals and Groups, Mutual Vulnerability. For the first time in Israel, 3 organizations from different philosophical, theoretical, and clinical disciplines in the world of psychotherapy are gathered together in order to engage in a dialogue and even multilogue about their approaches to clinical work. The Israeli Institute of Group Analysis and I have been influenced in our initiation of this conference by 3 major factors. First of all, mutuality, which is the spirit of the book of our guest of honor, Professor Aron. A meeting of minds explores many important aspects of mutuality within psychoanalytic relationships. The spirit of this book influenced our recognition of the need to form similar relationships between group analysis and the other psychoanalytical disciplines and organizations, both here and around the world. May the spirit of the book inspire this conference and the future mutual relationships among these disciplines and organizations. Incidentally, the first edition of a meeting of minds in Hebrew called Hamifgash will be launched today. It was translated and edited by Emmanuel Berman, who is taking a role in this conference. The second reason for initiating this conference was our need to present group analysis to the other analytical organizations. Although we all have in common our appreciation of intersubjectivity and variety of relational orientations, there has long been a tremendous lack of knowledge in the psychoanalytic world about the nature and value of group analysis as a therapeutic tool for the treatment of individual clients and patients. As a result, group analysis is almost avoided and often regarded as merely an adjunct or complement to individual therapy. In the analytic journals like PEP and others, the name of Fuchs, the father of intersubjective and relational orientation in group work, is hardly ever mentioned. And there are no quotations from journals like Group Analysis, Group, and International of Group Psychotherapy in those journals. The third reason is the need to dialogue about the broad meaning of group analysis, the very base on which we all developed as therapists. This base made me see each and all of you here in the audience this morning in the context of multiple frame of reference. Most of us here are individual therapists, but at the same time, there are many groups in each one of us. We also represent and personify many membership and reference groups. As Fuchs said, and I quote, "The group mind is nested in the individual man from the very beginning of his life. And the mind is not the private possession of the individual, but consists of interacting processes between a number of closely linked persons who are commonly called a group. The mind is, in a sense, the interacting processes of themselves." This is really not so different from what Stephen Mitchell said about 40 years later. The person is comprehensible only within the tapestry of relationships, past and present. Analytic inquiries entail a participation in an observation, uncovering and transforming these relationships and their internal representation. No wonder then that when I look at you, I can also sense the very many groups connecting us to each other in the dynamic matrix of the conference. I hope that we'll be able to meet these groups during the conference. We will watch the small group conducted by Robbie Friedman on stage, and we will participate in the medium groups and, of course, in the large groups, which, for the first time in Israel, will be really large. Hopefully, all these mutual experiences will allow us to discover conscious and unconscious relationships within ourselves and among ourselves. I'd like to end my few words of introduction and welcome by paraphrasing the many writings of my very dear friend and one of the great teachers and leaders of group analysis, Dr. Earl Hopper, who unfortunately is not able to be with us today due to an unexpected surgery. He says, in the same sense that the individual person and the group are two sides of the same coin, so too are psychoanalysis and group analysis. In fact, psychoanalysis and group analysis should be completely intertwined, whether working with one person, a couch and a chair, or with several people, a table and collection of chairs. We should always be both psychoanalyst and group analyst. Whereas the brain exists within the cranium of an individual human organism, the mind exists within relationships among persons. In other words, when we are working in and with a group, we do not stop being a therapist for and the individual person. And we do not stop being a group analyst when we are working with a single patient. Hopefully, Hopper's words will inspire our future work as individual and group analysts. Thank you, and welcome to each and all of you.
Good morning, my name is Sharon Ziv Beyman. Dear friends and colleagues, on behalf of the Israeli Forum for Relational Psychoanalysis and Psychotherapy, the Israeli chapter of YARP, I am honored and excited to open this unique conference. This conference, Individuals and Groups, Mutual Vulnerability, is a professional and intellectual celebration, as well as a tremendous professional and social challenge. We celebrate the honor of hosting Professor Louis Aron and the opportunity to develop with him a creative discussion concerning core and urgent issues which psychoanalysis must deal with as part of its ongoing development and never-ending struggle to stay and to become relevant to the current social and professional context as much as possible. As Pnina has just mentioned, we celebrate the publication of the Hebrew translation of Louis Aron's seminal book, A Meeting of Minds, as part of the psychoanalysis book collection of Amoved Press. This groundbreaking book was translated into Hebrew by Fatih Tan Persico and edited by Professor Immanuel Berman. We also celebrate the publication of Louis Aron and Karen Starr's new book, Psychotherapy for the People, Towards a Progressive Psychoanalysis, which will be discussed thoroughly during this conference. The book excels in challenging psychoanalytic thought and practice, in analyzing the past and present of the psychoanalytic school and its social and historical context. The book strives to describe and to promote the current interactive developments of psychoanalysis as theory and practice through scrutinizing its contextual impasses. The two books are available at the bookstore at the auditorium lobby. We are here to celebrate our unique endeavor, meeting together relational therapists and analysts, group leaders and analysts, and integrative psychotherapists to think and to create together. But together with celebrating, this conference is determined to confront major challenges, to examine the extent to which our ideas and techniques operate as an armor that often serves to maintain social binaries, social classes, and social conflicts, to reflect on our personal and collective tendency to use our theories and therapeutic work in order to avoid confronting our personal and collective vulnerabilities, as well as to protect our need for security, stability, and power, all the while tending to regard ourselves as relatively open and reciprocal, and to examine the necessity of entering, together with the patient, into unknown and uncomfortable zones of mutual vulnerabilities, a process that requires us many times to challenge the theoretical and clinical comfort zones that protect our values, individualism, for instance, our social class, and our power as individuals and groups. These comfort zones are expressed inter alia in our techniques and our assumption on mental health and development. We believe that the decision to cope with these anxiety-evoking processes of daring to question our practice, to step out of our comfort zones, and to be willing to be exposed to mutual and personal vulnerabilities will be greatly facilitated and enriched by constructing this conference as a meeting of minds between individual therapists and group therapists, between psychodynamic and integrative thought, and as a complex of theoretical, clinical, and experiential components. I would like to thank Emmanuel Berman and Pnina Rappaport for the initiation of the idea for this conference, to thank Professor Aron for his participation and contribution to this conference, to express deep appreciation to all the presenters, discussants, moderators, and group leaders, and their investment and engagement, to thank our partners from the Israeli Institute for Group Analysis and the New School of Psychotherapy for the unique collaborative work on this rich and multi-channeled conference, to thank the scientific and organizing committees of the three organizations that cooperated to create this conference and managed to overcome inevitable organizational vulnerabilities. Special thanks to Orna Kislasi and Hani Biran for organizing the discussion groups. Bravo to our administrative staff. And I would like to warmly hug Pnina Rappaport, Ofer Maurer, and Gila Ofer, and to thank them for the privilege to work together on the organizing of this conference. I wish all of us an interesting and stimulating conference. Since meeting our vulnerabilities is not essentially an enjoyable process, we hope that the warm and tasty hosting will support us during these 2 intensive days. Thank you.
So, welcome, dear Professor Aron, dear friends and colleagues. I want to welcome you to our conference. I'm personally delighted and excited to be here with you today. So, what does allowing yourself to enter a space of mutual vulnerability actually entail? By coming to this conference today, each and every one of us took a step into a mutual space of vulnerability and embraced this opportunity to learn. We came here today maybe hoping to discover something we didn't know before, maybe hoping to be able to think about things we already know, but in a different way. Maybe hoping that we'll meet someone with whom a meaningful connection will blossom, adding something good to our lives. We all came out of our homes and got here today with a hope in our heart, but also, I suspect, also with a certain degree of apprehension, maybe a tiny fear or a nagging doubt. I mean, I'm pretty sure that not everybody had the same thoughts, but I guess they could have sounded something like, will it be safe for me there? Will I find the stuff they're talking about relevant? I know they're gonna have discussion groups today. Will I dare to speak up my mind? Will they like what I have to say? Will they think I'm stupid or embarrassing or shallow or just downright crazy? Are they going to be nice people? Will I come back home happy or sad? And also, will I like the food? So today's conference, as you already know, is the product of a joint collaboration between 3 organizations: the Israeli Institute for Group Analysis, the Israeli Forum for Relational Psychoanalysis and Psychotherapy, and the New School for Psychotherapy. Now let me tell you something, collaboration is not an easy task. I counted more than 680 emails that were exchanged in the making of this conference just between us and the organizing committee. I counted endless hours of discussing together, planning together, fighting together, eating together, and writing together. We didn't go to sleep together though, but all the rest was really like getting married and having to start raising a huge big family right from day one. I'd like to thank our office team that did an amazing job handling endless problems and helped us make this conference come true. I'd like to thank my dear colleagues, Dr. Plina Rapaport, Dr. Gila Ofer, and my dear friend, Dr. Sharon Ziv Beyman, for making this conference become a reality. Also, a warm thank you to my friends and colleagues at the board of the New School of Psychotherapy and my friends at the Relational Forums board, friends with whom it is not as scary to allow myself to be vulnerable with. I hope you all have a wonderful and exciting time with us, both today and tomorrow. Have a great day.